to be put inside of your mind and programming in darkness. You want to say something? And programming darkness so that you can never get to the full or to the true understanding of who Christ is and what he stood for. Because this is not only an image as in an image that a man created. This is an image as in an image that has a representation of something. Like how you see Oprah has an image. She has a positive image. Like people look at her as a certain light. She has a certain image that goes with her. This image right here has an image. So this right here, the image that this image represents is evil, and it doesn't represent anything good for our people.
So go to Acts the 21st chapter. You got it? Acts the 21st chapter and start at verse 36. 36. All right,
Acts 21:36.
And this is what we're going to go into now, showing how Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. And we know, according to world history, the Egyptians were what color? Dark skin, right? So we're going to see that Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. So it only means one thing.
All right, 36. For the multitude of the people followed after, crying, "Away with them!" As Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, "May I speak unto thee?" Who said, "Canst thou speak Greek?"
Right, because Paul was a very eloquent man. He was raised as a Pharisee, and in his trainings and learnings as a Pharisee, he understood the law. But also back then, a lot of our people knew 2 and 3 different languages because we weren't blinded by entertainment. We were into knowledge back then, and because we were into knowledge back then, and we were into wisdom back then, we sought these things. Let me see that book to us. We sought these things. This is to show you that the Egyptians were black. But read that.
All right. It says, "Art thou not that Egyptian?"
Right, so the Roman centurion, the captain, he thought Paul was an Egyptian. He's like, "Look, you can speak Greek? I didn't know you spoke Greek. I thought you was an Egyptian." Read on.
Which before these days made us an uproar and led out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers.
So he thought that Paul was this Egyptian person that at one time led a whole bunch of murderers out into the wilderness to start a revolt under the Roman Empire. That's what he thought.
Acts
21st chapter,
36.
verse 36. But now, what Paul's going to do is tell him who he really is. Paul's going to let him know he's not an Egyptian. Paul's going to let him know, look, I'm not an Egyptian. This is what Paul's going to let him know. Read on.
Paul said, "I am a man which am a Jew."
Right, he said what?
Which am a Jew.
So Paul said, I'm a man which am a Jew. Read on.
Tarsus.
Of Tarsus, meaning he lived in Rome. Read on.
A city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city.
Right. So Paul was a Roman citizen. That's what I meant to say. Paul was a citizen of Rome. But he was a Jew, a black Jew that was a citizen of Rome. Like how we're black Jews today and we're citizens of the United States. Paul was a black Jew who was what? A citizen of Rome. So he wasn't an Egyptian. Well, see, when it said that he was bronze, when it said he was bronze, it was given a description. You understand? It was given a description. And when you look at the back of this book, it's showing that what? The Egyptians are what? Black, right? So it's letting you know that Paul, if he was see that sis? If he was described or he was thought to be an Egyptian, and the Egyptians are dark skinned, that means Paul had to be what? So a black man, a dark skinned man. Okay, but he let you know he wasn't an Egyptian, he was a Jew. That's who he was. He was a Jew according to the Bible. And Paul understood his nationality. Paul knew who he was.
In the 12 tribes, Jewish people go run.
We're scattered throughout the North, Central, and South America, all throughout the world. But the bulk of us here are in North, Central, and South America. That's where the bulk of us are. This is where the main deliverance is going to be when Christ makes his second return. When Christ makes his second return, it's not going to be like what people think they are. You see, in order for us to inherit the kingdom of heaven, things have to get worse before they get better. They have to.
You have more of these? Or is this the only one you have?
That's the only one we have right now, but it's a lot of information on there. You can check out all the scriptures. No. Oh, you want one? Or you want like extras?
Yeah. I just want to know. I went just
no.
Okay.
But if you want to pass it, you know, that's for you, sis. If you want to pass one out too, you can pass it out too. So we give them out freely because the kids, that's our job. Our job is to come out here and teach our people who they are according to the Bible. That's our job because when you check out our people who think we're African Americans, Some say we're Afro-Americans. Some say they're Negroes. Some say they're gangbangers. Some say they're dogs. Some say that I'm God body. But who are we according to the Bible? That's the key. If you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going. You gotta find out your past so you can identify with where you have to go in the future. See, a lot of people, we don't know who we are before slavery. Who were we before slavery? Now, we were told we were African kings and African queens, and then other African kings and African queens sold us into slavery. But now, when you check out the Africans, they come over here to America, and they come set up and establish things. Do they identify themselves with us, or do they identify themselves with other Africans? They don't mingle with us because they know we're not African. They teach in their schools that the children of slaves were sold from the west coast of Africa. And how we got to Africa, we were fleeing Roman persecution in 70 AD. We fled into North Africa, and throughout the years, we migrated throughout Africa. Because if one nation, if the white race, which was the Romans at the time, they're chasing us, and they're chasing us out of our homeland, the most sensible thing to do is hide amongst what? A dark nation. Because to white people, all blacks look alike. Like with us, all whites look alike. Like to me, I couldn't identify who was Italian and who was a Greek, but they could, the same way how us as black people, we know who's African, we know who's West Indian, just by the way they dress, maybe their accent, things like that. So we understand those things. So, but to them, all white people look alike. So in 70 AD, we fled Roman persecution, and when we fled, we migrated into the northern parts of Africa, and we started to go all throughout. And they rounded us up in West Africa, okay? And they sold us for musket guns, wine. It was the Africans and the Arabs that sold us for musket guns, wine. You know, at the shells that people have in their dreads, them seashells, they sold us for that also. So now our people, what they don't understand, when they're wearing these seashells, they don't realize that we were traded off for these things. These things were considered valuable to the Africans. So we were traded off for mustard guns, wine, and those little seashells, okay? And they traded us just to get us out of their land because they knew our history, they knew who we were. They knew from the time when the Lord plagued Egypt. Only we didn't know. Why didn't we know? Because we broke the laws of the Most High, so the Most High punished us. We had to be punished. It's the same way how if you're in your parents' household, right? They set up rules and regulations, laws, of what you have to do. You stay out late, they say, listen, sis, I want you to come back in at 8 o'clock. You come in 9 o'clock, what's your parents going to do? They're going to punish you. They're going to punish you. Listen, you broke the rules of the household. You don't wash the dishes, what's going to happen? They're going to punish you. You didn't wash the dishes you're supposed to. No TV. Okay? No, you can't go outside. No, you can't go here. You can't go there. They're going to punish the same thing with God. We're the Lord's chosen people. Isn't it weird that only the people on this side, we check out the people on this side, right? Only these people have suffered in a planet Earth like no other people. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that only the blacks and Hispanics have suffered things that other nations haven't even suffered? You can't compare a tsunami, or you can't compare 9/11 to over 40 years of slavery. You can't compare the two. You can't compare the fake Holocaust. You can't compare the fake Holocaust with the so-called white Jew to the real Holocaust. This is the real Holocaust right here. The real Holocaust is this. When you had hundreds of millions of people being killed off. This is the real Holocaust, but they want you to forget about slavery, but the white man don't want to forget about 9/11. He won't forget about 9/11 and about 2,000 people tops that died, and they're the ones that did that whole thing. The government are the ones that blew up the World Trade Buildings. How do we know that? Because if you have FEMA in there the night before, why would you have FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management? Why would you have FEMA in New York City the night before the Twin Towers fell? You was planning that. That's why. How come the only one that seen the first plane crash was George Bush? He said out of his own mouth. When I seen the first plane crash into the building, I said, wow, that's a dumb driver. How do you know that? First of all, the first plane crash was never televised. So it's obvious that you had an inside camera on that plane when it crashed. That's obvious. Because for him to say that, see, and all people don't pay attention to certain things. They don't pay attention to certain things. Because in order for him to see the first plane crash, he had to have a camera on that plane. Okay? Because it was never televised, the first plane crash.